I hate intros, Mob Psycho 100, Episode 1. What better way to start off an anime than with a random fight scene? Now we get an introduction of Reigen Arataka, who is discussing business with Hanako. She is asking him to exercise a spirit, and while he seems confident he'll be able to do so, Hanako's boyfriend is suspicious that he is a fake. And of course, assuming you've seen the show, you know that he is indeed a fake, so when they encounter the evil spirit, he proves to be useless, forcing him to call in our hero and real psychic Kageyama Shigeo, or Mob. Mob's OP deals with the spirit, and Kageyama Ritsu, Mob's younger brother, is introduced. And of course, what's an anime without a love interest? In this case, it's Tsubomi, who is surrounded by friends with an emphasized irrelevancy. Mob and Reigen get a job to exercise a haunted tunnel where people have gone missing. Mob deals with the spirits and their boss, who are a biker gang that died to a banana peel. For bonus points, he also exercises an ancient spirit who is forcing them to haunt the tunnel, freeing them to pass on. Episode 2, Manuscripts by Porn Sites. Reigen uses erotic massages to exercise it. Mob realizes he wants to do something more with his youth, but he's not entirely sure what. Introducing Kurete Tome and the Telepathy Club, who will be shut down by the student council if they don't find a new member in 2 days. Full panic mode ensues, and after not being able to find anyone, they ask Mob to join their club. And after being discouraged by Reigen, he's not entirely sure, so he doesn't give an answer. Reigen and Mob make me sexually confused while infiltrating an all-girls school. A Ben Shapiro supporter gets into a heated argument with Reigen, forcing Mob to go alone. Alleged lesbians threaten Mob. Other alleged lesbians explain that the school is haunted. Mob hunts down the incel spirit haunting the girls' school. Allegedly. Before being exorcised, the spirit asks Mob if he is living to the fullest, making him think about what he really wants. He comes to the conclusion that he wants to be with Tsubomi, so he joins the Body Improvement Club to become more appealing. Thus, the Body Improvement Club gets the room instead of the Telepathy Club. Episode 3, Mob is working hard in the Body Improvement Club. Mob flexes his powers to the Telepathy Club, and in response, Kurata explains her dreams. Mob is lured into a new religious order by a masked woman with the temptation of becoming popular. The religion is built around Dimple, their leader, being able to make everyone laugh. When he arrives at the gathering, people force him on stage with other newcomers where he runs into Misato Ichi, a girl from his class who is reporting on the suspicious group. The newcomers are forced into masks and quickly start laughing like the rest. Mob, unaffected by the mask, realizes the gathering isn't about being popular, so he decides to leave. Shocked that he isn't laughing, Dimple challenges him to a staring contest with a mouthful of milk where you can't laugh. Mob accepts, naturally, because he likes milk. He beats followers, tells him for his Dimple. Mob wins whilst revealing everyone is under hypnosis by Dimple, who is an evil spirit. Dimple, while taunting Mob, causes the first explosion, loses the fight, gets transformed into a small spirit, and then follows Mob around. Episode 4, middle school gangs have a fight where Onigawara Tenga, or Tenga the Demon, is introduced, then immediately loses to Hanazawa Toruki, which cues his introduction. And back over to Mob, who's contemplating exercising Dimple, but is convinced to let him stay since he promised not to do anything bad. But Dimple is actually planning on possessing Mob and just waiting for his chance. Reigen uses Photoshop to erase the spirit from a picture. We then get a glimpse of a growing jealousy from Ritsu towards his brother. Tenga, being defeated by Teru, seeks help from the Body Improvement Club to win against Black Vinegar Middle School. After being refused, they plot to get Mob kidnapped by the Black Vinegar gang, so the club is forced to fight and get him back. They bribe Mob's second head into getting him captured. Dimple tries to convince Mob to use his powers to get free, but Mob refuses because he doesn't use them on people. Hearing that Mob was taken, the Body Improvement Club agrees to fight to get him back. They retrieve Mob and make quick work of the gang. However, there's still no match for Teru, who's actually using psychic powers to win the fight. Mob sees this and reveals to Teru that he too has powers while urging him not to use them on people. In episode 5, Teru is surprised by Mob having powers but immediately wants to fight him to prove he is stronger, so he attacks but Mob easily defends. Dimple is trying to convince Mob to fight back but Mob refuses. With Mob not fighting back, Teru throws him around like a ragdoll. Since he still refuses to fight back, Dimple steps in to try and defend him because he still wants to possess his body, but Teru exercises him with no problem. With no reaction from Mob, Teru attacks with everything he's got. The fight ends up in a home ec room where Teru shoots knives at Mob. While defending, Mob accidentally cuts off Teru's hair. Teru is a pretty boy drama queen, so naturally he goes into a fit. Through the chaos, Mob explains that Teru is just scared of finding that he is nothing without his powers, just another average person. With his ego being threatened, Teru attacks Mob with his bare hands, choking him against a wall. Even under the threat of death, Mob still refuses to use his powers and instead throws him insane haymakers. Shockingly, the punches aren't enough and Mob thinks back on when him and his brother were attacked. He blacked out and used his powers on the high school attackers, hurting them as well as his brother in the process. He promised himself that that wouldn't happen again, and he stays true to that promise but in turn falls unconscious.
変わる使わない僕は変わるんだ
While unconscious, he falls into some sort of transcended state with even more power than before and attacks Teru, ending the fight with one blow, making Teru realize just how average he is.
僕って凡人だったんだな
Mob's second explosion occurs when he is overwhelmed with sadness and the thought of not being able to conquer himself, which conveniently fixes the school. The last scene is Mob's brother recalling the high school attackers and thinking that whatever attacked them wasn't his brother.
あれは兄さんじゃなかった
Episode 6, Reigen performs a seance. Tomei wants to find other psychics like Mob. Ryuto overhears Tenga apologizing to Mob but misunderstands and thinks Mob is being bullied. As a part of the student council, Ryuto urges them to take action against the school's delinquents. Komuro Shinji, the student council president, likes the idea and agrees. On his way home, Ryuto is mistaken for his brother and approached by Mitsura Kenji with an offer to join an awakening lab to improve psychic abilities. Mob and Tomei look for other psychics. While looking, Mob senses an adult psychic, but he feels dangerous so doesn't say anything. Ryuto, wanting to be like his brother, goes to the lab and meets other psychics. The next day, Komuro calls in Ryuto and plots to frame Tenga and the delinquents. Ryuto is hesitant to the idea at first, but eventually agrees, and it's pretty unfortunate timing because Tenga is turning over a new leaf. Once he's framed, Tenga tries convincing the class of his innocence, but being a delinquent, nobody really believes him. Ryuto's guilt is eating away at him, and while at the lab, he shows his first sign of powers, but leaves before noticing it. Without realizing his power yet, he heads home and sees Dimple waiting for Mob, but isn't sure what he is. Episode 7, Mob's reputation has spread to all the gangs who now refer to him as White Tea Poison. All the gang leaders want to defeat White Tea Poison for the reputation. Dimple and Ryuto end up teaming up in an attempt to surpass Mob. Meanwhile, Kamuro is drunk with power and starts framing more and more people, using Ryuto to help him. Ryuto's power is fueled by his guilt, so the more he frames people, the stronger he gets.
罪悪感それが僕の力を育てる肥料になる
Word gets around about Ryuto framing everybody, so a group of guys confront him, but he uses his powers to fight against them. Teru, who just so happened to be walking by, notices Ryuto using his powers against all these guys, so he decides to put him in his place. Cotton artists target Mob by having him break a vase. Now supposedly there is a spirit who is after him. Ryuto fights a gang leader who is looking for White Tea Poison. Eventually, all the gang leaders come looking for Ryuto in response to this, and he is forced to fight them all at once while the adult psychic that Mob had noticed earlier is watching from a rooftop. The last scene is Mob coming across Ryuto with all the gang leaders injured around him.
Ryuto 何やってんの
Episode 8, Ryuto explains that the only reason he was ever nice to Mob was because he feared him, but now that he had powers, he wanted to fight Mob. Dimple, who of course knows how OP Mob is, wants no part of this and nopes right the hell out of there. Mob doesn't believe this and dismisses it as a lie. Of course, Mob isn't going to fight his brother, so instead he apologizes to the gang members for his brother hurting them. The adult psychic, or Megumu Koyama, who is still watching, is ordered to take in Ryuto, so he attacks him, and this makes Mob's explosion timer skyrocket. At first, Mob doesn't fare so well against him, but once his explosion timer procs, even Megumu is no match for him. In desperation, Megumu uses a powerful date rape drug which he keeps handy for feisty females, rendering Mob incapacitated. Megumu then takes off with Ryuto. Dimple went to find Teru, who helps Mob get back to his house and explains more about the situation. The people who took his brother are part of an organization called Claw. With over 100 psychics, they aim to start a revolution. After hearing more about this, Dimple takes him to the Awakening Lab, which had been attacked. They run into Mitsura Kenji, who tells them about the attack and how the psychics that were there were kidnapped. And in the last scene, the psychics and Ryuto are going to some isolated facility. We kick off episode 9 with Megumu discussing what happened with Mob when Tarada, another member of the Claw, overhears him. Tarada is threatened by Mob because he is afraid if Mob joins the Claw, he will be surpassed by him, so he sets out on a private mission to kill Mob. Teru tells Mob that he will help get his brother back, but they have no information to go on, that is, until Tarada arrives to fight Mob. He obviously loses and is tortured into giving all the information he has on Claw, including the location of the facility where Ritsu is being held. We get a quick introduction of the Claw's 7th Division upper echelon members as well as the leader. Meanwhile, Ritsu and the side characters are being held in a cell, which doesn't last long because they use their powers to get free. Tadada leads Mob and Taru to the facility, attacks him, and gets one shot by Mob. Megumu gets his rematch, which unfortunately isn't very close. So with Megumu neutralized, Claw is now forced to use all of its members of the 7th Division to try and stop Mob. Episode 10. Claw released its upper echelon members known as Scar, as well as all their grunts to hunt down Mob and everyone else. Ritsu finds the Shirodori brother who was separated from them. Dimple, who is possessing a body, gets into a fight with Scar member Matsuo, who controls evil spirits to fight for him. Taru gets into a fight with Scar member Miyagawa, who has pyrokinetic powers. But after managing to win that fight, Taru is knocked unconscious and held captive. While this is happening, Mob is targeted by Scar member Mukai. Ritsu gives everyone else a chance to escape while fighting off non-Scar member Sho. After beating Mukai's puppets, Mob is forced to fight Scar member Tsuchiya and Takeuchi, neither amounting to much of a challenge for him. Mob finally finds Ritsu, who is badly hurt, and approaches Explosion. With Mob not paying attention, Muto sees an opportunity to attack him with illusions. While being attacked, Mob's explosion procs, reflecting the illusion back onto Muto, rendering them both unconscious. Mob, Ritsu, Teru, and Dimple are all captured and held by the Scars. Dimple, who is defeated by Matsuo, is forced into a poison jar with hundreds of spirits who devour each other and get stronger, creating a new pet for Matsuo. Episode 11. Reigen tracks Mob's phone out to the facility, which can be considered weird, but I think his intentions are good, and if not, I ship it, once Mob is of age. Mob and Ritsu are finally reunited, but held with Teru in a room that cancels out their power. Reigen is mistaken as the boss of the Claw organization, allowing him to unknowingly help the captured psychics escape, as well as getting the Mob. As everyone is preparing to leave, they run into Ishiguro, the 7th Division leader. Ishiguro threatens them, so Reigen dropkicks him to avoid Mob using his powers. And as it turns out, things escalate pretty fast after that, and everyone is forced to fight. Mob comes close to exploding during the fight because he feels the need to protect everyone, but Reigen slaps him back to reality. We get a look at how Reigen and Mob come to know each other, which is shortly before Reigen is cut down from behind, raising Mob's explosion timer to 100%. And finally, episode 12. It turns out Reigen isn't actually hurt. In fact, he's powerful. Way more powerful than the Scars. They each take turns attacking him, but none of them can even come close to his power. What happened was when Mob was about to explode, Reigen snapped him out of it, and all that built-up energy changed its direction and flowed into Reigen, putting him at 1000% power. Reigen makes the most of this opportunity to give a good tongue-lashing to all the Scar members, and not the fun sexual kind, the hurtful kind, and not the fun sexual hurtful kind. He explains that they're all just average people despite their powers. Ishiguro disagrees and prepares to attack again. That's when Sho, the supposed temp, steps in and quickly defeats him. Sho is actually from HQ and was scouting for talent in Division 7, but ends up dissolving it instead. Dimple won the Ghost Battle Royale and is released, everyone leaves, and everything starts going back to normal. Mob is still creeping on Tsubomi and is flustered by eye contact. Kumuro realizes the error of his ways. Tenga forgives both Kumuro and Ritsu for framing him and is now a part of the Body Improvement Club. Teru becomes a teacher for the Awakening Lab, helping the side characters. Dimple continues to help Mob. Ritsu and Mob's relationship starts going back to the way it was. And finally, we get the segue scene with Sho, who is actually the son of the Claw's boss, reporting to his dad and receiving the news that the boss will be in Japan soon. Reigen makes the most of this opportunity to give a good snapped him out of it, and turns out Reigen is actually hurt. He's attacking him, but none of him can even. That's when the snapped him out of it and built that's when Sho, the supposed attempt. That built up energy changed both Kumuro and Ritsu, and for framing close to his power. What happened was when Mob was about to explode to attack again. That's when back to normal. Mob is still creeping on Tsubomi and Reigen snapped in. Opportunity to give it powers. Ishiguro. I don't want to talk about it, Aurora, okay? You're so cool, just laying over there. Was scouting for two. Oh my god! End me! Dimple won the Ghost Battle. Built up energy, changed his direction, and Tenga forgives both direction and fled into Reigen, making And finally, episode 12. It turns out Reigen isn't actually hurt. In fact, he's powerful. Way more powerful than the Scars. They each take turns attacking him, but none of them can even come close to his power. What happened was when Mob was about to explode, Reigen snapped him out of it, and all that built-up energy changed his direction and fled into Reigen, putting him at 1,000% power. Reigen makes the most of this opportunity to give a good tongue-lashing to all the Scar members, and not the fun sexual kind, the hurtful kind. And not the fun sexual hurtful kind. He explains that they're all just average people despite their powers. Ishiguro disagrees and prepares to attack again. That's when Sho, the supposed temp, steps in and quickly defeats him. Sho is actually from HQ and was scouting for talent in Division 7, but ends up dissolving it instead. Dimple won the Ghost Battle Royale and is released, everyone leaves, and everything starts going back to normal. Mob is still creeping on Tsubomi and is flustered by eye contact. Kumuro realizes the error of his ways. Tenga forgives both Kumuro and Ritsu for framing him and is now part of the Body Improvement Club. Teru becomes a teacher for the Awakening Lab, helping the side characters. Dimple continues to help Mob. Ritsu and Mob's relationship starts going back to the way it was. And finally, we get the segue scene with Sho, who is actually the son of the Claw's boss, reporting to his dad and receiving the news that the boss will be in Japan soon.